What's up guys, happy new year's and welcome back to my channel for another video. As part of this year's goal is to bring you guys more videos on how to mix instead of just random studio related videos. And to kick things off, I have this beat that I was working on. I'm going to use it today to show you guys how to get the perfect 808 and kick drum in the mix, as well as how to get them to play well with each other. So whether you were a producer who's looking to get the perfect mix on your beats before you send it out to the artist, or you were an engineer who's actually getting hired to mix, this channel will be the place for you to be this year. Or if you are an artist who's looking to get the perfect mix on your record, be sure to check out our website at elimusicgroup.com to get a quote on your next project. Without any further ado, let's jump into the computer and let's learn how to get the perfect 808 and kick drum in your mix, as well as how to get them to sit well with each other. As I was scrolling through my archive today, I found this beat and I thought it was a really nice beat, so I decided to mix it. And as I was mixing it, I realized that it would make a great video for you guys, so I decided to use it to show you guys exactly how I get my 808 and my kick drum to sit perfectly in the mix, and also how I get them to play well with each other. Okay, so I am about to play this mix for you guys right now. This is just the raw version of the mix. Basically just balance, no processing yet. And then I'm gonna bring in the processing for the drums, more specifically for the 808 and the kick drum. Maybe we can turn this into a mini series where in the next video I can talk about the rest of the drums. And in the next one, we can talk about the instrumentation. And eventually I can get an artist on here and drop some vocals for you guys, as well as show you guys how to mix some vocals. I have already contacted an artist and hopefully I can get him in the studio soon enough to drop some vocals on this beat for you guys. If not him, then I already have another artist lined up, but unfortunately the second artist is not local, so we may not get to actually see the recording process, but at least we'll get to see the mixing. Fingers crossed we can get the first artist because he is local and it would make a perfect video to show you guys exactly how I record vocals. All right, so enough talking. Let's get into this beat and let's take a listen at the rough mix. All right. All right, so that was a rough mix. Like I said, this is just a balance without any processing. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and start bringing in the plugins, especially, like I said, especially on the 808 and the kick drum, and show you guys how I was able to achieve the sound that I got for this mix. All right, so starting with the 808, the first plugin we got in there is the Virtual Mix Rack by Ssl Evt. And in this plugin, the only thing I'm using is the virtual channel, which is a digital summing plugin. And I have it set to the Brit 4KE, which I think is the Ssl E channel. And I have it on the gain, I have it pushed to about 4.24. And it is grouped with all the other drum tracks. That is all I am using with the virtual mix rack. All right, so let's go ahead and listen to the 808 before and then after, and let's see what it sounds like. All right, so I don't know if you guys can actually hear it through YouTube, but by just activating this plugin, it brought so much life to the 808. Before, it sounded very dull, and by just activating this plugin, it brought so much life to it. Again, that's all I'm doing with this plugin. And the next plugin I have in this chain is the Pool Tech Legacy by Universal Audio. So if you guys have the Apollo interface, then you already have this plugin. And on this one, I am boosting at 20 hertz. I'm boosting about 3.5 decibels. And I'm also attenuating about 2 decibels. And I am not touching the high end. So that's all I'm doing with this plugin. So let's take a look. Let's take a listen with before, and I'm gonna bring it in. All right, so by bringing this plugin in, I felt like it added so much to the bottom end of the 808 and it felt so much fatter. So let's take a quick listen again and let me know if you guys can actually hear the difference. All right, so before. All right, so that is the pull tech added to the 808. And the next plugin we have in the chain is Transient Shaper by Kilohertz. That's part of the Slate Digital All Access Pass. So if you guys have that, so if you guys do have that bundle, then you do have this plugin. It is a Transient Shaper, and for this one, I'm using it more for body instead of attack. So it's not really adding much more attack to the 808. It's just adding more body to it. So let's listen to it before and after. All right, so quick little before and after again. Right. I hope you guys can actually hear the difference that these plugins are making, but this is what I did with the 808 so far. And the next plugin we have in the chain is the Cla Mix Hub. If you guys have watched my channel in the past, you know this is my favorite channel strip plugin that I use on every single mix. All right. In this plugin, what I'm doing is on the input side, I am actually bringing the mic up by 24.8, and I am bringing the line down just a little bit, and I am using the minus 20 dB. So to compensate for the volume difference that it created, right? And I am also using the high pass filter at about 20 because I feel like we can't really hear anything below 20 anyways. So instead of just leaving it there, I decided to just cut it out just to make the bottom end a little bit cleaner, right? And I am compressing just a little bit. Take a listen at the before and after, all right? I don't know if you guys can actually hear the difference that this plugin actually made, but I felt like it added a little bit more analog warmth to the 808 and it felt a little bit bigger. All right. And the next plugin that we have in the chain is the F6 by Waves. This plugin, I'm using it for sidechain between the kick and the 808. And I'm gonna actually skip this plugin for now, and we're gonna come back to it because it doesn't exactly affect how the 808 sounds. I'm just using it to help the 808 and the kick sit better in the mix without having to fight for space. So I'm gonna skip it until after I show you guys what I did for the kick, and then I'm gonna bring it back in, and we'll see how I'm using it to sidechain the kick to the 808. All right. So this is what I did for the main 808 part. I have a scene here that we're doing a little bit more processing on, and I'm bringing that in as parallel processing. So let's bring in the send before any of the processing and see what it sounds like. And then we're going to bring in the processing and see what difference it makes. All right, so automatically you hear that the 808 sounds a little bit louder because we are essentially sending a copy of the sound to a different channel. So now you have the 808 coming out twice. I'm not using it just to boost the sound, but I'm using it to do processing that I didn't want to do in the actual 808 track. So let's start bringing in those plugins and see what they do. And first one we have is the Ssl Evt by Waves. And on this one, on the input side, I'm just doing just a little bit of boost on the mic line. And on the line, I am cutting just a little bit. And for compression, I have a 2.5 ratio, and my threshold is about -2. And I have a relatively slow release on that. And that is about it for this plugin. So let's do it before and after. It's very subtle, but it's there. You can hear it. And that's all the processing that I'm doing with this plugin. And the next plugin that we have is the R bass. And with this one, I am boosting about 1.7 decibels at 61 hertz. And I feel like that adds so much more body to the 808. Let's take a listen at the before and after. All right, so it's not doing a whole lot to the 808, but it is doing a little bit. It's doing it just a little bit. And the next plugin that we have is a stock plugin on Pro Tools. It's the Air Distortion. Let's hear what it's doing to the 808. All right, so with this distortion, it helps the 808 just cut through the mix a whole lot more. And lastly, on the 808 chain, we have the Cla Mix Hub. And with this one, I am basically squashing all the processing, all the parallel processing that I did. All right, so let's take a listen to the before and after. You can hear that it just helps the parallel processing just be glued together a whole lot better. All right, so let's now bring in the kick drum and see what we did with the kick drum. All right, you can hear the kick drum. It's all right, but it is nothing special. So let's bring some life into it. All right. And as to start with, we have the virtual mix rack, and I am doing the same thing that I did with the 808. Let's take a listen to the before and after. All right, so that's the before and after. All right, and the next thing that we have for the kick drum is a Transient Shaper, and this one I am using it for the attack, not so much for the body. Let's take a listen to the before and after. All right, you can hear that the kick is just knocking a whole lot harder with the Transient Shaper on. And the next plugin that we have here is the Cla Mix Hub. Again, you guys know it's my favorite channel strip plugin. Let's bring it in and see what we did. All right, and that just helped the kick just sit a whole lot stronger with more body. All right, and the next thing that we have is we have our first parallel processing for the kick drum. Let's bring that in. And for that, I am using another instance of the Ssl Mix Hub. I am not using the minus 20 dB pad, but I am pushing it a little bit on the mic input, and I am compressing 3:1 ratio, a 2.9 to 1 ratio, and at 0.20 on the threshold, and I am boosting at 4.4 at 4K for about a 2.7 decibels. And let's see what it sounds like before and after. And the next thing I have on that is a little bit of saturation. And I'm being very moderate with that. So let's hear what that sounds like. All right, I just feel like that brings up the top end of the kick just a little bit more. And moving on to the second parallel processing for the kick drum. Let's see what that sounds like. And for this one, I am using a filter, and I'm cutting at about 1K using a low pass filter. And on the lows, I am using a little bit of distortion. And this, I feel like added so much body to the kick. Let's see what it sounds like. With just that, I feel like the kick has so much oomph to it, and it just sounds a whole lot better. All right, so this is what I did for my 808 and my kick. Now let's see how I get them to play well together. Remember, for the kick drum, I was basically boosting at about 50 hertz. That's where I wanted the kick to sit. So with this EQ, with this dynamic EQ, what I'm doing is at about 50 or so, I am sidechaining that to the kick drum, and every time the kick hits, it knocks the 808 down. So they're not fighting for that space. So let's see what that sounds like with this on and off. All right, so you can hear that the kick drum is just coming through a whole lot more when the 808 is being pushed out of the way. All right, so this is how I get my 808 and my kick drum to play well with each other. Now let's go ahead and listen to everything in the mix together, and maybe in the next video I can show you guys the processing I did for the rest of the drums as well as the other instruments. All right, so this is what the 808 and the kick sounds like in the mix. And this mix is not quite done yet, but I feel like it's at a good place. So I wanted to show you guys how I process my kick drum and my 808. Keep in mind that this little techniques that I use in this mix is not going to work on every single mix. You just need to listen to what the mix actually needs, and you process it accordingly. For this mix, I felt like the 808 was just too weak and the kick drum was just nothing special. So I wanted to bring a little bit of life into them. So that's why I ended up doing this type of processing on the kick drum and the 808 as well. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, make sure to drop a like and comment down below to show your support to this channel. And if you're new, don't forget to hit on the subscribe button and turn on the notification for more videos like this. That's all I got for you guys today. I'll see you next time in the next video.